hi everybody. This is, as Ahmed said, this is Tobias and Sebastian. We're calling in from Munich. Sebastian, if you could go to the first slide, please. As you probably know, there are around 1 billion people in the world without modern energy access. And you'll probably also know that that severely limits their everyday lives, their education, their health, and their aspirations. And yet, progress towards universal electrification is far too slow. Far too few people get new connections every year. And a major problem is that the planners and investors in this segment, in this market, are shooting in the dark. There's just not enough data about the off-grid villages to plan electrification. So they often don't know where the villages are, how many people live there, and where the power grid reaches. Sebastian, next slide, please. With village data analytics, we want to make these, or we make these villages visible in a way that is reliable, is fast and scalable. And we use AI to bridge data gaps. So we can tell companies or planners what they need to know. We locate villages, we estimate their size, we tell them whether or not they're grid connected, where roads are, where anchor loads are, that's very important, and other factors. And we can monitor sites and we can predict the impact of interventions. So you can think of it as a Google Maps for the development world. Our technology is built on the application of machine learning to satellite imagery and on-ground data. And my colleague Sebastian will tell you now how it works.
Yes, thank you, Tobias. So our approach is this. We first identify the villages in an area of interest that the user defines, and then we extract relevant characteristics about the village that we identify in the previous step. And as a third step, we rank all of these villages that we identified according to user preferences in terms of how attractive are they to the user for off-grid electrification. And this whole process is automated, and it enables a more reliable and more faster and scalable decision-making for the user. And in order to achieve this, we use cutting-edge algorithms from unsupervised learning and deep neural networks that are trained on satellite imagery. And this data set that we get is up-to-date and reliable, and we obtain it through our data partnerships that we have at VIDA. And also, these algorithms are continuously validated and improved through our work with the users on the ground.
Thank you. So I think we have a very good team actually to deliver VIDA. First of all, TFE, which is the company I founded originally, has decades of on-ground experience in building infrastructure for rural development markets. So we understand what holds the sector back, and that's why we build VIDA. On the picture there, you actually see my colleague Sam building a mini grid. I think that's somewhere in Kenya. And our technology partner is Applied AI, is Europe's leading nonprofit for the application of AI, and brings in a very strong data science expertise. And then we're supported by the European Space Agency, which helps VIDA with satellite data and with technical knowledge. Next slide, please. So we're currently working with a number of VIDA users already that you can see on the left side. These are development institutions, governments, and electrification companies. But we have built our technology for scale so that we can expand it into different markets, and we can improve it with every project we do. So in addition to our current work in electrification, we are already addressing a couple of new opportunities. The first is we're looking at new market segments. For example, health. This is driven by, so we're currently supporting the COVID-19 response of one African country. A second area is new geographies. So far we're working mostly in Africa, but now we're looking at first work in India and in Myanmar. A third way to scale it is to add new information layers. We're currently working on improving the travel times algorithms. And the fourth is we are moving from offering a kind of single service to an ongoing monitoring service. And I'll stop there. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to your questions, in which we can perhaps dive a little deeper into some of these aspects of our work. Thank you.
Thank you very much for respecting the timer. And I mean, you can have the chance to actually explain more and maybe show the slides during the Q&A. So yeah, let's go for the questions. Any questions from our experts today? Yeah, I can see Jovan here. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, guys. First question, just to be clear for me, you have cooperation with the company organization Apply AI. Is that saying that you don't have like internal AI capacity that is developing your own algorithm? What is the relationship with the partners? That's the first question.
Applied AI has capabilities that we do not have in-house. That doesn't cover the entire spectrum. So we have internal data scientists as well. But for the heavy lifting and deep dive work, we work with Applied AI. And we have a long-term partnership and market VIDA together as a team.
Okay, and the second question, who are your customers and how much you can earn from them?
Currently, the customers are, we're working with large development organizations, of which there are a handful. And we're working with the investors into the electrification market, the private sector investors, and with the electrification companies. We can earn, well, we can earn sufficiently from them. We already are in, the project revenues we're currently generating fuel our growth. So we can earn sufficiently from them to grow the market and grow in the market. But we're quite eager to explore other markets as well, along, for example, healthcare or education, which have slightly different sets of players. But it will probably in that developing context. And currently, we're working almost only with developmental players. In the same market segment that we are looking at, we could potentially also work with agricultural companies, for example. We could help companies that look at, want to understand value chains if they reach into these markets. There are different market opportunities for us.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, Tobias and Sebastian. Great presentation. Very interesting. A few questions for you. Right? So, in relation to your product, VIDA, is that finished product completely?
Is a product ever completely finished? So we have a version.
Is it like for every participant? Is it finished in the product that it can be patented?
Yes. So it's a product that is currently in the market and it's currently used. Okay. But as we are deploying the current version, we are building the next version. Okay, so you've gone beyond beta test and everything else, and this is in the market, and you're generating income. We have paying repeat customers. Okay, and you mentioned there, my colleague basically, Giovanna had a question, and you answered in relation to that. Some of the AI capabilities is external. So if you were going to patent this in the future, right? How would you manage that? So, and what can you patent, I should say, really? What can you patent? Yeah. It's an interesting question, but we're not, so at the moment, I see our main value addition is in understanding the different data sources and data streams that are available in this area where we work and bringing them together in an intelligent way and then creating a user interface that is really workable for our customers. And so it's a very application-oriented approach. Yes, of course. Not so much a patent. Of course, if there are patents that arrive from it, I mean, TFE is a VIDA product. So, VIDA is a TFE product. So it would be with us. But that's not really the thrust of where we're going. Okay, and one last question. So your focus in the market, so this, and let's say the regions, this is not just only for non-development countries, it's also for development countries, correct? So yeah, it's a good question. Our competency, I think our skill is in understanding rural environments in developing countries. That's where we come from, that's what we understand. And I think our technology and what we do is for the moment probably limited to that. It's not easily scalable to urban contexts in developing countries, and it's not easily scalable to developed countries because the combination of on-ground data and the patterns we recognize from on-ground and satellite, they work very well in these rural developing contexts. But if you look at a city or a developed country, then I would say the parameters of what happens in a place are many more. Okay, and you have collaboration with the European Space
Space Association as well, you said, and they're satellite
That's
images.
true.
These images, are they released to you? Do you pay for them? How is that worked out?
So the Sentinel imagery is freely available.
Okay.
And then in certain instances, we work with very high resolution imagery as well, which is either we buy or it is made available to us by our partner. So a lot of the development institutions will have that and bring that into the project.
Okay, super. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So my question is, you guys said that, you already have some customers already using your product VIDA, and do you have any well, actually, are they using your product, as a pilot area, or do you have any pricing plan for them? For example, do you have like subscription, model, or is it one-time purchase model? So what is your actual pricing model?
That's a very good question. The honest answer is that we're working on that at the moment. Currently, we sell it as a technology-enabled service, and it works for certain markets very well, and it works for us. And the challenge for us, I would say, in the next 6 months or so, is to understand how to package it and price it for different types of markets. Okay, so that's a tricky thing because, but it dovetails with the increasing automation of the entire value chain that we're building.
Okay, just a second question. There are quite a lot of also tech companies and startups are using, satellite imagery to do kind of a similar, project. And so, how competitive do you think in your domain? I mean, do you have any competition related strategy to make the other competitors, feel it difficult to overcome the barriers you are building?
Yeah. Competition, it depends on how you define your market, right? That tells you what the competition is. If we define the market widely as understanding rural villages in developing countries, then yes, there are a couple of companies. They come probably mostly from the agricultural field that have very interesting technology. What we do is so by understanding electrification is a very, very good wedge into the village ecosystem and the village economy, because it's often the first thing that comes in. So building a mini grid in an unelectrified village, that unlocks all kinds of other things, whether it's modern agriculture, education, healthcare, all these other things. So understanding the village economy through electrification gives us a competitive advantage. We have built a number of data partnerships with organizations that are working in the field in different countries, both in Asia and in Africa, so that we can constantly validate and test. We've created a couple of case studies we've done to validate our predictions and improve our predictions. And these are the main ways in which we can differentiate ourselves. In the field of electrification, I think we currently stand out. I'm not aware of somebody who does the same thing.
Okay, well, interesting. Thank you very much.
So Sebastian, thank you very much. Interesting that you're using the Sentinel data from ESA to get that granularity of images. So my question really is around your customers' ROI. You mentioned a number of large corporates in one of the slides. So you had Engie there, for example. If they apply your product, your service, if they purchase your services to really understand where these villages are and what the size of their markets might be, do you have any information on what the ROI can be for them?
For building if you mentioned Engie has different types of electrification products. It could be solar home systems, which are small products that are sold. It could be mini grids. And so you're asking what the ROI of our customers in that market is? No,
I'm asking for a customer to purchase your services, what the ROI of their investment in your services is. Do you have any evidence of that? Do you have any case studies in which you can say, this company used our services and we were able to save them X because they didn't build, or we opened up an X billion or $100 million dollar
Yeah.
opportunity for them. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I understand. We've done that we've done these case studies with a couple of companies, and we have found that there are 4 areas where we can substantially improve their business their business. One is we can reduce the cost it takes to develop a new site by about 80%.
Okay.
The second is we can increase the time or accelerate the time or save the time it takes them to do that by at least 50%. The third is that we can improve the bankability of their work and their investments by giving much more transparency on data and risks. And the fourth is that we allow them to scale, which is fundamentally the most important thing also in this market in order to achieve the global goals. So that they can currently move from developing 10 to 20 sites at a time to 200 to 300 sites at a time or more.
Thank you.
And that again, if you come with these bigger portfolios, then they have lower transaction costs that helps their investability, and kind of the whole thing kind of moves ahead.
Mm-hmm. And do they typically engage with you then on a per project basis, or is it a subscription model? Sorry, you probably, I can't remember.
Yeah. So currently it's a per project basis.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But that links to what Josh was saying. We have different ideas of how we want to move that into a subscription model, or a kind of an operational model, you could say.
And just a follow-on question from that very quickly. Who is it that you engage with in these companies? Is it normally their CSR department, or is it actually somebody at the cold face of their business development?
Yeah, so currently, maybe Angie kind of threw you a little bit, because Angie actually runs a number of electrification businesses in Africa.
It doesn't matter, choose any.
Yeah.
I just use that as an example.
So of these, we're always that's their core business. These are companies whose core business is electrification. In addition, we are now engaging with impact funds and with companies there are some interesting opportunities around carbon reduction, and there are different kind of angles to this that are coming in that might, in more traditional businesses, be CSR, in more progressive businesses, become part of the core business.
Understood. Thank you.